Greetings dear friends, welcome to the May issue of the Geopolitical Review. Today in this episode we would be discussing three main geopolitical issues. First two being the visits of state heads of Sri Lanka and Turkey. We had the President of Turkey, Mr. Erdogan, visiting India. We also had Mr. Anil Wickremesinghe, the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, visiting India. The third issue being the Pakistani attacks on Poonch sector of the LOC. We have with us Dr. Nanda Kishore, who will be throwing more light on these three geopolitical events. We welcome Dr. Nanda Kishore to this show.
Thank you for having me here.
Dr. Kishore, recently we had the President of Turkey visiting India. How this particular visit has impacted India's relationship with the Southwest Asian region, and we would also like to know how will it have the impact on India, Pakistan and Turkey relationship. Will Turkey be able to have some impact on Pakistan's role or Pakistan's misbehavior with India?
It's very important to understand visit of a president of Turkey, for the simple reason, in terms of having relations, every relation is related to a particular country or a particular group in the West Asian region. You look Israel. Israel has direct relations with the United States and it abides whatever the United States says. You have the rest of the countries other than Iran who listen to Saudi Arabia largely. They are influenced by that. Now, two important countries in the West Asian region who can be little independent and who are also not party to either of these groups. One is Iran, other one is Turkey. Now, Iran and Turkey both are very, very important for India in terms of India's interest in West Asian region, from energy dynamics to everything. Now, keeping that in the background, see, whatever that is happening within Turkey and the things that are taking shape is more of an internal matter, and India generally chooses not to react on those issues because some of the biggest countries across the world or biggest democracies haven't reacted in a big way. People say that his referendum to have more powers for the president itself was farce, or this was fabricated and all those things. There are also allegations and all those things. But for India, if it starts entering into like that, probably it will have fight with every other country. I think most of the countries are going through domestic issues which are part and parcel of it. Now that's why India is not bothered about this one. What India is trying to concentrate is largely on the relations that it can have with Turkey and counter-terrorism and several other things, just to make sure that it is interacting with an independent country and it can have some hold in the West Asian region. That's the idea behind. That's why Erdogan came here. We discussed on counter-terrorism issues, how we can work together. We also signed quite a few bilateral things. But only problem that I found is also that when he was here, only the mutilation of the soldiers happened, and he chose to be silent on the Pakistan issue. He chose to be, but he said that he is ready to intervene, he is ready to negotiate, he is ready to be a intermediary between India and Pakistan. But at the same time, condemning the act of Pakistan would have been much more important. So there is no necessity to attach too much of importance to his visit, but it can be seen as one of the extensions of India's foreign policy, not leaving out any country for that matter, because a leader is seen from a particular prism. For that matter, probably somebody in the West Asian regions or somebody in Europe may say even Modi is that way only, autocratic, and is violating human rights. They may see it in a lot many different way. So in that scenario, it is crucial to have a country which is much more independent of the two blocks, and we should continue with that one. So in keeping that in mind, his visit is important, and for us also to counter ISIS and all those things, Turkey is a very important partner.
Will his support help us in getting a permanent seat in the UN Security Council?
See, this is very important because irrespective of the country, at the end of the day, it matters to India to get support from as many number of countries as possible. And Turkey is also part of the NATO. So it is important in terms of keeping that in mind, that even the smallest country makes lot of difference, because if they voice and they say things in favor of India, It helps out. So it's a multi-pronged approach to a particular country. We are not stuck with one way of looking at it or one leaving out another way of looking. So it's just a holistic way of looking at it, and we need to see that one. Because next visit would be of our own Prime Minister to Israel. So none of the premiers have visited so far, and it would make a huge difference in the very relation, because that will be the strongest stamp that we can give it to the Israelis, saying that one, that we are not wary of your relation. It's not that we want to use you only when we are in requirement, but we are your constant friends or long-term friends. We are with you because our interests are common.
I think our premier has played a very intelligent game. Initially, he sent the president to Israel
True.
and saw the reaction,
True.
and now he himself is
Absolutely.
going.
It's sort of preparation on the ground for him. When the head of the state visits, there is a lot of difference, because for us, president might not matter too much in India because it's ceremonial. But for several other countries, he being head of the state is very crucial. Head of the state visiting Israel, spending a lot of time and trying to cement the relations is a good way, and it also domestically has a lot of value, because the president originally belongs to a different political party and the prime minister belongs to a different political party. But the time they have assumed the office, there has been extreme parity in their working. You would never see they fighting each other or making comments on each other in any way. So whatever the Prime Minister thinks of thinking that this is good for the country, and he requests the President, but with his own wisdom, the President also thinks it is important, and he has been complimenting every action of the Prime Minister. So in that way, I think domestically, regionally and globally, this is a very important move what Indian politics is actually showcasing for the world.
Coming back somewhere near in the Middle East, recently the German Chancellor visited Saudi Arabia, and she took up the issue of attack on Yemen and the nearby areas. So how relevant is it for the world?
No, it's important, because at least not just being the champions in their own land and then accusing a particular country, visiting their country and talking is very important. Something that many of them also did not observe is Merkel did not wear a burqa. Merkel did not even put a shawl on her head. So that means she wants to be true, whether it's their land or her land, she wants to be the same. And she thinks that is part of the women's empowerment across the world, where the issues of burqa, the issue of several other things are going in a big way. Probably she thinks that, okay, if it's sentimental for the Muslim women, let them wear. I am not obliged to wear that one. Why should I appease someone? It's like the Indian leaders every now and then trying to wear skull cap. It became an issue when Prime Minister Modi said that he will not wear the skull cap. People said no, he's not secular or anything. By wearing cap, somebody doesn't become secular. So by wearing a hijab, she doesn't become secular. She did not prove her credentials to him. So she went as a head of the government, and she continued to be that way. And the Saudis haven't taken offense to that one. So what is big deal about it? I think that's very important. They're not just talking about human rights in their country and accusing somebody else in some other region, but they are also practicing it by going to that country and then talking about it. I think that's a very good move. I appreciate whatever Ms. Merkel has done.
Let us move from Turkey to our immediate neighbor, Sri Lanka. Recently, we had the Premier of Sri Lanka, Sri Ranil Wickremesinghe, visiting India. Sir, how do you see it? China has more influence in polity of Sri Lanka. Now, how has the visit of the Premier of Sri Lanka to India impacted the overall geopolitical situation in the subcontinent?
No, it's very important, you see, because of the geopolitical ramifications that we have with the Chinese presence in the South Asian region. Importantly, when we have theories such as encirclement or string of pearls and all those things that the Chinese are covering us up in the whole South Asian region, starting from Pakistan with the CPEC, then you have Nepal with the hydroelectrical projects, then you further come down to Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Maldives. Looking at all those things, India need not go begging everyone, but her own action should prove or make sure that these people come to us. Look at the way we have dealt with Sheikh Hasina. I think she's extremely confident of the Indian leadership, and she's ready to negotiate most of the things, and she's been visiting. I think this is not first visit of Ranil. Ranil has been visiting constantly and he's been updated on a lot of things. I think every visit is strengthening the relation, and India is getting more legitimacy in the South Asian region. See, you have no control over your geography. Just because you are a huge country, if somebody thinks that we are a bully, that's not our problem. What we have to do is through actions. That's why, as a complementary thing, what the Prime Minister has done is also he's using one of the satellites that would help the whole South Asian region. Now that's the way you have to win the hearts. You need to show them that we are with you in most of the things. And Sri Lankans of late, probably under Maithripala Sirisena as well as Ranil Wickremesinghe, have realized that India is a more trusted partner, might not act swiftly, but it will be stable partner and it will continue to help us in a long way. So probably that itself is a humbling experience, and it's important. And probably slowly and steadily, lot of ports are an issue, lot of fishermen issue, lot of other irritants between India and Sri Lanka will slowly fade away. And I think this leadership can prove a lot of things to us, and it can be a stepping stone for the South Asian unity itself. So that's what I see in Ranil's visit to India, and it's very crucial. I think every visit is making a lot of differences. We are taking very positive steps towards Sri Lanka.
Now moving to our rogue neighbor, Pakistan. Recently there was a mutilation of two of our soldiers in the Poonch sector of LOC. And from our internal side, there has been lots of criticism to the incumbent government, telling that they are inactive. And Kadininda has become a huge trending hashtag on the Twitter. So do you think that India's response is slower, or is it necessary, or is it that they are going for a larger strategy?
See, I'll tell you, first and foremost is, though it may sound a bit of criticism on the government, it's true that you need to have a full-fledged defense ministry. You can't have somebody handling 3 ministries. Somebody is the head of the corporate affairs, somebody is he's heading the finance ministry, somebody is also heading the defense ministry. That's not acceptable. Because when you have a cabinet committee on security, you have the defense ministry, you also have the finance minister. He's doing dual role. That means you are not getting advice of another minister. So it's not that there is depth of talent within BJP at this juncture. There are capable people, and somebody should be entrusted with the full-fledged ministry, so that defense ministry as such would be much more confident in dealing with few things. Because if he's running around for a lot many things, if the chief of the army or the chief of the forces want to go and talk to him, and they have audience and constant work on a particular thing, they can't drag this man who's a finance minister when he is busy with the other 2 ministries. So first and foremost, there has to be a defense minister with a full-fledged portfolio, and Mr. Modi has to think about it. This is very crucial at this juncture. Second is also probably that mutilation is a barbaric act, whether it is done by the Pakistanis or Indians, for that matter, anybody. So tit for tat is probably because I saw the bereaved family asking, at least we need 50 heads to compensate for what has been done. Now that's a difference when you are dealing with a rogue state, or you are dealing with somebody who believes in disturbing your mental peace. You should not be reactionary. You should be responsive. That means reaction can come from emotion. Okay, they mutilated 2, we'll mutilate 4. I don't think that should be the way we are responding, because at the end of the day, the soldiers on that side and soldiers on this side are the ones who are going to die more and more. So that's through a political action. Nothing is going to happen to the defense minister, nothing is going to happen to the prime minister. So the innocent soldiers will die because they are only carrying out the commands. Right? Now that's the worst part that we have to see, that what if tomorrow India does 4 and they come back with 10? So that's not the real way of looking at it. So there has to be a response. That response has to be a calculated risk. It has to come in such a way that Pakistan should think twice before doing anything. Like that of the surgical strike that we planned and we did. It requires a lot of plan. It requires a lot of things. Look at the Naxals attacked in a particular way and it became a sensation. Now the NSA is leading the whole command. NSA is getting involved in the Naxal operations. Now that has to be. So several people have to sit together look at the permutation combinations of what are going to be the outcomes, look at, and they should work out through probably something like a game theory, and then they should act in, because people can get emotional at any point of time, but emotions are not the only thing through which they have to respond. The government has to be much more responsible, right? The child fights in a family, child fights with the neighbor's child, just because that boy slapped your son or he did something. Now if the child comes and complains to the father, father should not go and slap the child again in the same way, the neighborhood child, he needs to have a calculative response. He needs to behave in such a way that next time the child should not get hurt. That's the most important priority. You can't afford to lose your child, but at the same time, how do you make that child not to do anything like that further on your child? So that's why I'm telling, as a father, as a head of the family, probably the government needs to be much more careful than just getting emotional. Probably a brother of the child who got hurt, he will say that I will go and kill that fellow. So you need to have control. I think that's very important. That's what is my response probably.
Yesterday, one of the Twitter responses, because I think this Twitter speaks the public mind sometimes.
Absolutely.
One of the Twitter responses was that it's a high time that NSA is made as the defense minister instead of having a part-time defense minister, because NSA is a person who is of Mr. Doval, who is of very great credentials. What's your opinion? It might sound bit different, but sometimes it sounds fine. What do you say?
Yeah, see, a lot of suggestions keep coming like that whenever you see somebody, especially we all get moved by when we have a super cop coming in, because we think that he is the solution for every problem. But I think the job of NSA is much more holistic compared to just the defense minister. I think he works on internal, external, not just those things. There are hundreds of things that an NSA works. I think his requirement as an NSA is much higher than just as a defense minister. That's my take. Probably you may have a difference of opinion on that. But there are people who are capable. There are people who can handle it much more dignified way. I don't essentially suggest that it has to be an ex-army person, someone like VK Singh. He can be very rustic in terms of his response, because he would not tolerate anything of this sort. But at the same time, it's not that there are no people. Like probably 10 years ago, I would agree that BJP did not have great talent to show that this fellow can be a minister, that fellow can be a minister. At this juncture, I think they have good, strong people with a strong mind and who can go by the command of the Prime Minister. That's very important. You need to have that some sort of a discipline. That's coming in this ministry. You don't see them making aberrative statements. And some sort of a control is there, which is important. I think that can be done. But as you said, yes, Twitter makes a lot of such good suggestions, and I think Prime Minister is very much aware of many of this, because he follows a lot of such people who make such suggestions to him. But his difference has been that one only, that he takes everybody's things into consideration, but he comes out with his own way of looking at a particular thing. I wish and I hope the Prime Minister looks very deep into this particular matter of having a full-fledged minister. He certainly cannot afford to have a minister who does part-time job. I think this is a huge ministry with so much of expenses and investments, lot of responsibilities, and it needs a full-fledged minister.
Dear friends, with this we come to the end of the May issue of Geopolitical Review. Thank you.